Hey friends, before you step onto your mat, you may want to have blocks, a blanket or pillow, and a strap or scarf available. Once you're ready, find a seated position on your mat. It can be in an easy seat, on a blanket or pillow. It can be seated in hero's pose with some blocks. Once you've found your comfortable position, begin to soften your gaze or close your eyes and breathe. Focus on the breath, feeling in your belly, your ribs, and your lungs, and then exhale it out. You're welcome to try placing your hands on your belly, on your chest, or on your ribs, or you can keep them on your legs. Continuing to focus on your breath while I read our scripture for this practice. Psalm 37:4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." In light of this verse, how are you arriving today? Are you feeling tired, weary, heavy, anxious, hopeless? Are you feeling excited, happy, loved? Whatever you are feeling, go ahead and just notice it. Become aware of it. Maybe become aware of where you feel it in your body. And as we continue, you can offer that up to God. On an inhale, lift your arms up over your head. And on an exhale, bring back to prayer at your heart. 2 more times. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale to heart center. This time, lifting your arms up overhead, placing your right hand on the mat next to your hip. And lean over towards the right, opening up in your left side body. You may find movement here or stillness, whatever you find to be delightful. Linking your movement to your breath. On your next inhale, reaching both arms up overhead, and exhale, releasing down to your second side. So left hand on the mat, opening up in the right side body. Again, finding movement or stillness here. Connecting with your breath. On an inhale, arms up overhead, and then release down to your legs. And we'll begin to roll our neck around. And you can do this at your own pace. You can begin by tucking your chin to your chest, gently rolling your right ear to your right shoulder, rolling your head back so that your throat is open to the ceiling, left ear to left shoulder, and then rolling back down to the front. And then reverse this circle, so head towards your left shoulder. And if at all you feel any pinching or pain while you're moving your neck, just notice that and maybe try not moving it quite so far. We want to be very careful with our necks. Once you've rolled both sides, Reach your arms up overhead. Placing your right hand on your left knee and your left hand either off to the side or behind you. We'll do a seated spinal twist. Inhaling lengthens your spine, and exhaling increases the twist. So if you've reached your edge on twisting, that's okay. Stay there. We're not looking for you to bend your body all the way around. Just looking for space and warmth in that spine. You can release that back to center, and we'll do the second side. So left hand on right thigh, right hand behind you. Inhaling to lengthen your spine, exhaling to rotate. And you can continue that, inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to rotate. Once you've reached that edge, you're just breathing. And you may find that one side is more open than the other. And you may find that as we move in this practice, and that's perfectly normal. Our bodies are balanced but not symmetrical. And some of us hold tension and tightness and stickiness in certain parts of our body, sometimes one side more than the other. And that's just something to be aware of with your body. Release that back to center. Gently roll out your wrists. Wiggle those fingers. Roll out your ankles and your feet and your toes, waking up those smaller joints that work so hard during the day and during this practice. Once you've completed that, find yourself in a table position on your mat, so hands and knees. If you happen to find there's too much pressure on your wrists, you're welcome to move your hands forward like a handprint, or you can take your blanket if you have one and roll it up and place the heel of your palm on that, and that should release some tension from your wrists as well. We're going to move into cat-cow here, and we're going to do it really, really slowly. So on an inhale, you're going to tip your pelvis towards your thighs, and your breath will not match this movement, so go ahead and feel free to breathe normally. Continue to lower your belly towards the mat, slowly making our way through this cat-cow. Slowly lifting up in your chest and your throat, lifting your gaze. And then on an exhale, we'll reverse that. So starting with your pelvis, you begin to slowly bring that under, tucking it towards your belly, and begin arching your back as if you were a cat, through your low back, middle back, upper back, shoulders. Lastly, tucking your chin to your chest. You can move through cat-cow again 2 more times on your own. You're welcome to move in the slower cat-cow, or if you prefer a more regularly paced one that goes with your breath, you choose. Moving in a way that is delightful. Breathing, connecting, becoming aware of your body, becoming aware of your thoughts, becoming aware of the state of your heart, but mostly becoming aware of His presence. Once you've completed your final cat, return to a neutral table. And starting with your right leg, you're going to extend it out to the side so that your foot is flat on the ground and your leg is relatively straight. You don't want to lock your knee out here, but otherwise fairly straight. Now, if that means going at a 90-degree angle is not going to work for your hips, totally fine. If you want to lessen that intensity a bit, you can bring your foot closer to the back of your mat and it'll still offer the same effect. So on an inhale, keeping the rest of your body in that tabletop type position, On an inhale, you will roll forward just a bit. Exhale, release your hips back as if you're going into like a half child's pose. So keeping that right leg extended, inhaling forward, and then exhaling back. And you may feel this in your inner thigh, and you may not, and that's all right. Inhaling forward, exhaling back. Then you're going to take that right leg and you're going to extend it behind you so that it's outside your left leg. So it might feel a little funny, but your right leg will be over the top of your bent left leg. Hopefully that makes sense. And then you'll begin to just rock slowly. You won't get back quite as far just because of your legs crossing. But again, we're just creating space in that outer hip as we move. Once you've done that a few times, extend your right leg straight behind you, toes tucked, and again beginning to rock forward and back, matching your breath. We'll stretch out your hamstring, your calf, even the bottom of your foot, your arches. That can feel so nice. I know mine get very cramped sometimes. So a good stretch feels good. Once you've done that a few times, you're going to take that bent left knee and you're going to kickstand it out to the side. You will take your extended right foot and we're kind of swinging around. We're going to be in a supported side plank here. So your right foot will be in the back left corner and you'll want to press in through the outer edge of that right foot. Your left hand is on the mat, supporting you along with your left knee. Your right hand will be up straight overhead, extended. Now you've got lots of options here to play around. And when we think of delight, one of the first things I think of is a child and playing. I have a almost 4-year-old and everything is playing. Everything is a game, and that's when she's having the most fun and the most delight. So find some playfulness in this, some exploration. Even if it's just being in this pose is playful for you, that's wonderful. You can try extending your arm over your ear so that there's a line from your right fingertips to your right foot. You can try lifting up that right foot off the mat. If you want to get real wild, you can try grabbing your right foot with your right hand behind you. You may fall over, and that's okay. Just enjoy exploring and playing and being curious. Finding delight in this body that God gave us, this good body that God gave us. Even with all its imperfections, He only makes good things, and He loves us, and He wants us to enjoy what He's given us. Once you're done playing, you can return back to your tabletop position, and we'll do this on the second side. So left leg extended out to the side, again to the angle that works for your body, making sure that that foot is flat. Once you've found the positioning you want to be in, inhaling forward, exhaling, release those hips back into our half child's pose here. Inhaling forward, exhaling back. Once more, inhaling forward, exhaling back. Inhaling back up into your table, and you'll extend that right leg kind of back behind you over top of your right bent knee. Rocking back and forth here, finding a little space in your outer left hip. Doing that a few times. Once you've completed that, extend your left foot out behind you, tucking those toes and moving forward and back again with your breath. Finding space in your hamstring and your calf, the arch of your foot and your toes even. Moving your right leg out into that kickstand position. Left foot finds the back right corner of your mat. Placing some pressure into the outer edge of that left foot. That will help you with some balance as well. Extending your, left hand up finding a little lift maybe in your ribs and your hips as well. Try not to sink into the mat, but lifting up. See how that feels in your body. And begin to play. Play on this side. Maybe try things you didn't try on the other side, or try the same things. Extending your arm overhead, finding a balance by lifting that extended leg, trying to grab your foot. Maybe you reach it, maybe you don't, but that's okay. Moving in a way that brings delight to you and to your Creator. Once you are done playing and exploring, again, find that tabletop position on your mat. Tuck your toes, bend your knees, and lift your hips up into our first downward facing dog. Bending your knees as much as you need to, making sure that you are pointing your sits bones, those bony bones in the bottom of your bottom, up towards the ceiling instead of aiming your lower back towards the ceiling, aiming those hip bones up. And that should relieve some pressure from your lower back. Again, if you're finding that you have some pain or pinching or discomfort in your wrists, one thing you can try is making sure that you're giving equal weight to the front and back of this pose, so your feet and your hands. You can try creating space between your ears and your shoulders, bending your knees. If this still is not working for you, you're welcome to go back to table. You can try pedaling your legs out here as well. Roll forward to plank and then step into a forward fold at the top of your mat. Again, making sure those hip bones are pointing up instead of pulling at the rounding of your lower back. Bending your knees here as much as you would like. Releasing your upper body, maybe grabbing opposite elbows and swaying side to side. Find stillness here, and then place your hands either on a block, on your shins or your thighs, and lift halfway up. Release back down to a forward fold, and then slowly stand all the way up. Arms up overhead, and then exhale, hands to heart. I'm going to vocally lead you through 3 rounds of a sun salutation A, and then I'll allow you time and space to do 3 rounds on your own. Now, before you panic about trying to remember everything, the idea here is not to be perfect and to not do things exactly the way that I do them or that I tell you to do them. The idea here is to just find movement, to find space, to find joy, awareness, and to just have fun. So, no worries. If you only remember 2 of the movements, just do those 2. You'll do great. On an inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Placing your hands on the mat, step back into a plank. You can stay here in a high plank or place your knees on the ground. Either way, lower yourself all the way down to the mat. You'll have some more choices here for your back bend of choice. Baby cobra, where you slightly lift yourself off your chest off the floor. Your elbows will have a lot of bend in them. Full cobra, where you would have all of your chest and part of your diaphragm off the mat. Arms are a little bit straighter. Or you can do an upward facing dog, which would get all of your chest, your belly, and the top of your thighs off of the mat. Any of these are wonderful options for a back bend. Release that back down, and you can go through table if you would like into downward facing dog. Finding a few breaths here. Movement or stillness. Roll forward into a plank. Step up to the top of your mat into a forward fold. Half lift. Release again to forward fold. And then slowly stand all the way up. All right, I'll vocally lead you through 2 more rounds, and then you'll have time to do 3 rounds on your own. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, step back into plank, plank of your choice. Lower all the way down to your mat. Lift up into your back bend of choice, baby cobra, cobra, or upward facing dog. Release back down to the mat. And then lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Finding and reconnecting with your breath here, or as one of my favorite anatomy teachers, Jamie, says, reinvest. Reinvest in your breath. Roll forward into plank, step to the top of your mat into a forward fold. Half lift, forward fold, and then inhale, standing, arms up overhead into your prayer pose. All right, I'm going to vocally lead you through this one more time, and then you are on your own. You're going to do great. Enjoy this time. Delight yourself in Him, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Step back into plank. Lower all the way down to your mat. Inhale, back bend. Exhale, back down to the mat. And then inhale, up and back into your downward dog. Hold for a few breaths here. Roll forward into plank. Step up to the top of your mat into a forward fold. Half lift, forward fold, and then standing all the way up, arms up overhead, and hands at heart center. All right, you know where you're going. I'll give you a few moments here to move through this on your own. You can begin with arms up overhead. I'll still be doing it on the screen, so if you do need a visual to follow, I haven't left you. Meet in mountain when you have finished your 3 rounds. And as you move through these shapes, can you offer your delight to Him? I was thinking about this word, delight. And the other day I realized that delight is the combination of 2 things, awareness and gratitude. When we become aware of even the small things and realize how wonderful they are and become so grateful for them, that's where delight is born. Whether it's the glow of a beautiful candle, it's the presence of the people you love, it's a beautiful hike, a nourishing meal, a really good book, time specifically between you and God where you can just be with Him. That's when we find delight. And when we come to Him with awareness and gratitude, our hearts line up with His, and His desires become our desires, and those desires are good. Finishing up your last round of sun salutation here, meeting in mountain. Connecting with your breath. stepping back with your right foot into high lunge. Front knee is bent, back leg is straight. You can bend it as much as you need. Back heel is lifted. You can place your arms straight up overhead or in a V. Hips are pointing forward. Then you're going to pivot your back foot so that it is parallel with the short edge of your mat as you move into Warrior Two. Hips are level and neutral, so one's not kind of dipping over to the side, but they are even. Front knee is still bent. And if you feel like maybe it's collapsing inward, try to see if you can get it to track with the middle toes. When you look over your knee, arms stretched out into a T and gazes over that front hand. This is your Warrior Two. So being aware of your lower half, we want to make sure that that's going to be stable and secure as we move the upper half. So flipping your front palm up, we're going to tip up and back so your back hand goes on your back thigh into reverse warrior. And then you'll return to your Warrior Two arms. Lower body has not changed. You're going to take that front arm into that bending your elbow. So it looks like you're blocking some sort of a kick or something. And you're going to bend forward, lean forward. And you can place that bent forearm on that front knee just as a boundary, not really as a support. And then your back arm will be up overhead. So it's a little bit like when we were doing our supported side plank on the floor, kind of reminiscent of that. If you want, you can also use a block on the inside of that front leg and place your hand there. On an inhale, I'd like you to go back up to Warrior Two. And on an exhale, release back to that reverse warrior. Inhale, Warrior Two. Exhale, bend forward into that side angle. We'll do this once more. Back up to Warrior Two. Release back into the reverse warrior. Warrior Two. And then forward into your side angle. Back up to Warrior Two, and this time your front foot is going to match your back foot so that all your toes are pointing to the long edge of your mat. You can widen or shorten your stance as needed. Slight bend in the knees, hands on the hip, and bending at the hips, hinging at the hips. Pretend that you are a door, and leading with the heart. Go into your wide-legged forward fold. You're welcome to use blocks here to bring the ground closer to you, or you can use your hands. You can reach for your ankles or the floor, releasing that upper body. Find movement or stillness. Irenaeus said, "The glory of God is a man fully alive." How does God see you today? Are you fully alive as you delight in Him? As you become aware and thankful and grateful, is that when you feel the most alive? I don't know about you, but it sure is for me. When I become aware of just how incredible God is and all that He's done in my life, and I become so grateful, that's where delight starts bubbling up inside of me. Placing your hands on your thighs, pushing yourself back up. We'll reverse out of this. So move into your Warrior Two, then into your high lunge, and then step up to the top of your mat into a forward fold. We'll do this on the second side. So step back with your left foot into a high lunge. Remember that front knee is bent, everything is pointing forward, back heel is lifted, arms are lifted. Then we'll pivot that back foot into our Warrior Two. Check those hips, make sure that they are neutral, front bend in the knee, arms at a T. Flip that palm and head back into your reverse angle, or reverse warrior. Then up into your Warrior Two, and then here we'll do our side angle. So again, getting that bending at the elbow, so I feel like you're blocking like a karate chop or something. And then bending forward back up to your warrior two, and then into your reverse warrior. Warrior two, side angle. And again, you can use blocks here if you would like to see if you've created more space for that. Warrior two, once more into reverse warrior. Warrior two, and then your final side angle. Back up to warrior two, pivot that front foot. So all your toes are pointing to the wide or the long edge of your mat as we prepare for your wide-legged forward fold. Soft bend in the knees, hands on your hips, hinging at your hips and leading with your heart. Go ahead and fold forward. Again, blocks can be nice here. Offer a little bit more restorative, especially if you are feeling any pain or pressure in your lower back. Movement can feel nice. Shaking your head yes and no. Zephaniah 3:17 says that he, meaning God, rejoices or delights over us with singing. I love that we are not just called to delight ourselves in him, but that he delights himself in us. He loves us. He loves you, friend. God loves you, and he delights over you. He's so excited about you. He has such plans for you, and when you become aware and grateful of all that he's doing in your life, that's when he's so excited. Like, yeah, she's finally seeing it. Yeah, he's finally getting it. What a beautiful picture. We're going to release this back up, so hands on your thighs, pushing yourself back up, and we'll go through our warrior two, high lunge, and then back up to the top of your mat into a forward fold. While you're down in your forward fold, you're going to step back with your right foot into a low lunge, and you're going to heel toe your left foot towards the outer edge of your mat so that it's outside of both of your hands. Both your hands should be on the mat. And here we're just going to rock back and forth in that bent knee. So your right knee that is on the mat, it's kind of at a neutral spot, just like if you were in table. Front left foot is up at the top. Rolling, just rotating back and forth, finding space in those hip flexors before we go to our next shape here. Now you can stay here, or you can move that right knee back just a bit so you can create some openness in that right hip flexor. Then I like to go on my fingertips here just for a little extra space, creating just a little bit of a back bend. And then blocks can be nice here. We're going to lower our upper body down into lizard. You can use blocks here. You can use your forearms, your hands. Again, if you feel any pinching or pulling in that right hip flexor, you can move your knee up closer towards your body. And if this isn't working for you at all, you're welcome to go back to table. Okay, so you can stay here reclined in lizard, or you can rotate it. So lifting up your left hand, just like when we were in that side plank, you can keep it straight up in the air, or you can place it on your lower back, opening your chest over to the side there, creating space. Try looking up if you'd like. Finding breath here. Finding the delight in the hard, and the effort, and the building, and the heat. Release that back. We're going to move this lizard into a yogi squat. So if you would like to use blocks here, this would be a great opportunity to do that. They can be used as a seat. If that would make you feel more supported and comfortable, please feel free to do that. So you're going to move your left foot. You can keep it where it is, or you can externally rotate it so that the arch of your foot's kind of on the edge of your mat. Then you're going to move your right foot up to match, whatever that looks like. So you're kind of in a weird forward fold. As you bend your knees, slowly lower your hips down. You can have your hands on the mat or at heart center. And then if you are lowering towards blocks or the floor, wherever it is, or a blanket, any of that, go ahead and get into that squat position. Hands, if they are at heart center, try using your elbows to push out your knees just a little bit more. If that feels like too much, don't do it. Inhaling to lengthen that spine. You might tip forward just a little bit, and that's just because our bodies have curves. And we're not a straight line, and that's okay. If at any point you feel like you want to put your hands on the mat for balance, feel free to do that. Breathing here. Some people love this shape. Some people loathe this shape. And just like with anything in life, some things we love and some things we just have to do. You don't have to do this pose, but we can find the delight in things even if we aren't enjoying it. That look, I'm doing something hard. I'm learning something new. I'm doing a shape I don't like, but it's benefiting me. I'm listening to my body and not doing this shape. There's delight in all of that. Okay, so we're going to take this squat and we're going to turn it into lizard on the other side. So releasing your left knee to the mat into that tabletop position, taking your right foot and heel-toeing it out to the edge of your mat, if it's not already there, pointing those toes forward, hands on the inside of your right foot. And again, just begin rocking forward and back, creating space, warming up our bodies. We don't want to shock them or scare them. We want our bodies to know what we're doing, where we're going, and listening for permission to do it. You can continue rocking forward and back, or you can scoot your left knee back to create a little bit more openness in that hip flexor. Again, using blocks here is great. I'm going to get up on my fingertips maybe, opening it up into a slight back bend, and then release your upper body down. Again, onto blocks, forearms, whatever feels safe to you. Not necessarily easy. Easy and safe are not always the same thing. Finding the delight, finding the awareness and the gratitude in this moment, even when it's hard. Breathing. Okay, we're going to turn this back into our yogi squat. We've done this before. We can do this again. Bringing that left foot up to meet our right foot. Making sure that if your feet are matching, whether they're pointing forward or externally rotated. If you would like, again, to have blocks or cushion under your seat, great. If you don't want to, great. Either way, bending our knees, lowering our hips into our squat. You can try placing your hands at your heart, or this time, since we've been here before, if you want to play a little bit like we did at the beginning, you can turn this into a rotating yogi squat. So placing one hand down on the mat, does not matter which one. Lifting up the other one and opening up your chest towards the side. That can feel nice. Releasing that back down, placing that hand down and opening up to the second side. Again, that can feel nice. All of these words are just options. So you do what works for your body. Okay. This time, instead of going into lizard, we're going to stand up into a forward fold. Just kind of ragdoll it out, get rid of a lot of the tension and the heat that we've built. Slowly stand up into Tadasana. Stretch all the way up as high as you can go, getting on your tiptoes. You may fall over, that's okay. Just stretching out from being so condensed. And then Release back down to a forward fold. Step your feet back, lower your knees, and find a child's pose position. In child's pose, you can either have your knees together with your belly and your chest on your knees and your arms straight out, head on the mat, or you can have your knees apart, big toes touching if that feels comfortable. You're welcome to put a pillow or a blanket or blocks under your torso if that can feel nice. Another consideration is if you feel uncomfortable or unsafe with your face down on your mat, you're welcome to turn your face to the side so one of your cheeks is on the mat instead. And that is wonderful. Finding release here, finding delight. I'm going to read our verse once again. Psalm 37:4. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Upon hearing this verse, how do you want to respond to God? How do you want to delight yourself in Him today? How can you become aware and grateful? And how is He delighting in you? What are things that He is putting in your life to show that He delights in you? A sunset, the perfect joke at the perfect time. Where I live in the fall, our trees turn colors and they're so beautiful, and we love to go hiking as a family. And one of my favorite things about the leaves changing colors is when they turn red. Usually they turn yellow and orange, but red, there's something about a red leaf. And whenever we go hiking in the fall and I see one tucked in on the trail, I always know that God put it there, because He knows that I delight in that. And He delights in me. So how is He delighting in you today? Go ahead and roll over and find yourself on your back. If you'd like to place a pillow under your head, you're more than welcome to do that. Reaching your arms and legs straight up into a waterfall, you can rotate your ankles and your wrists. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Bringing your knees to your chest, perhaps rocking side to side. Then grabbing your big toes with your peace fingers or the outer edge of your feet. We're going to open up into happy baby. Just pulling those knees towards your armpits and having an openness there, rocking side to side. You can't do happy baby without smiling, without finding delight. If you ever see a baby actually doing this in real life, they are not sad, they're happy. Hence the title, Happy Baby. So finding delight, even in feeling a little silly. Placing your feet on the mat, lifting your left ankle to rest on your right thigh in a figure 4. You could try tipping your hips back and forth. You can try placing your hands behind your right thigh and pulling those legs towards your chest, and you might feel a little bit of a stretch in that outer hip. You could try placing your left elbow against that left knee for more openness. Any of these are options for you to choose. Release that back down, and we'll do the second side. So left foot on the mat, right ankle on the right thigh. Again, finding some movement here. You can stay here or place your hands behind that left thigh and pull your legs towards you. maybe using your right elbow against your right knee to provide more openness. Maybe not. You choose. Release that back down. Placing your left foot still on the mat, extending your right leg out. We're going to turn this into a spinal twist. So tipping over towards the right side with your left knee bent over your body. Trying to keep your left shoulder down as much as you can on the mat. You can use your right hand to bring that knee down, maybe looking in the opposite direction of your knee. Release that, and we'll do the second side. So left leg extended, right knee bent, and over towards the left. Left hand on your right knee if you'd like. You can turn your head towards the opposite direction. Beginning to find delight in the slowing down and the softness, and soon the stillness. Releasing that back. Go ahead and do any final intuitive movements, anything that your body is asking for. We're going to set up for Shavasana. And I have recently discovered how important it is to set Shavasana up well for yourself. It is so hard for many of us to just lay still for a little bit. For some reason, we just struggle with that. And so I want to set you up to be cozy and comfortable and still. So grab pillows, blankets, sweater, cup of tea if you'd like. You can lay down on your back. You can grab an eye mask if you would feel comfortable. Socks. We're done moving. You can sit up in a position where you're not putting in a lot of effort. You can sit in any of the poses. Maybe you liked that supported child's pose from earlier. I've done one once in a class that someone taught where I had a pillow and a blanket under my torso, and then I had a blanket over me. So I was all covered up, and it was just wonderful. So you find your version of the coziest Shavasana that you can do today. Loving yourself well, loving this body and this time with God well. And as we rest, as we delight and rest in Shavasana for the next 5 minutes, delight yourself in Him, become aware and grateful in Him as He delights in you. I will return to finish the practice with my voice in the next 5 minutes. Slowly begin to deepen your breath, coming back to your senses, to your mat, to this present moment. Become aware of what you hear, what you feel, what you smell. Begin to introduce some small movement, such as wiggling your fingers and toes. When you're ready, you can make those movements a little bigger. You are welcome to stay in the position that you were in, or find a seated position as we close out this practice with a short breath prayer. However you are positioned, if you feel comfortable placing your hands on your heart, and on an inhale saying to God, I delight in you. Exhaling as you delight in me. Inhale, I delight in you. Exhale as you delight in me. Once more, inhaling, I delight in you. Exhale as you delight in me. God, I thank you for how good you are. I thank you that as we become aware and grateful of you in our lives, you will give us the desires of our heart, because our heart will begin to look like yours. And your heart for us is for good. I pray that as my friends who've practiced with me today go forward, that they would remember that as they delight themselves in you, you will give them the desires of your heart, of their heart, because you delight in them. I pray for peace, love, and joy over everyone who has practiced with me today. In Jesus' name, amen.